Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News 2nd edition. I'm your host GTG, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take you guys back to what would be considered a monumental moment and certainly a milestone in Darksydephil's illustrious career, because you guys know how well that's all been playing out. I'm going to take you guys back to November 8th of 2009. Wow. Let's see here. The title of the video is 30K subs and Modern Warfare 2 update. Now, this video right here is actually kind of important. First off, Phil hit 30,000 subscribers on what I believe is the Darksydephil channel. Also, he talks a little bit about how people have contributed to him, or as he likes to call now, support him back even in 2009. As well as he talks about Modern Warfare, and there's some other things. But there's some real goodies in this. The reason why is because if you guys remember the last retrospective event that he did, he actually came up on this video and he skipped through it because he didn't want to kind of screw up his own lore as it pertains to how people were able to support him and how he never made a dime before. I think that was what, 2011. I think he said he never made a dime on anything that he did on YouTube until 2011, or so on and so forth. Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, is one of many pieces of evidence that prove the contrary, and that's one of the reasons why we're going to go over this. So that's the plan. I haven't uploaded over here in about a week or so. There's a lot of stuff going on the main channel, and I wanted to kind of get a chance to get back into the rhythm here. As I said, I was going to try to go for at least 2 videos a week if possible, and I'm doing okay with keeping my word so far, or at least as best as possible. But so that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you guys have to look forward to. Continuing to delve in on Darksydephil and some of his bullshit. Also, I'll throw this out there right now. Do you guys want to see any more recent content, and but just not maybe in the usual DSP News format? Maybe I can go ahead and lighten up the mood a little bit on it. Maybe not necessarily get a bit more ranty. Yeah, probably. It'll probably be way more ranty. I don't know. We'll figure out something as we go along. After like 10 videos or so, I'll do a channel update and I'll catch some feedback for you guys. So we're only like 8 videos away from that. So that's something to look forward to. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News 2nd edition. And here we go.
Hey everyone, it's DSP here, and I've got a couple important channel updates today. I'm going to be moving pretty fast because this is take 2. I had actually recorded one right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, yet again, we are here with I think this is Darksydephil, the Darksydephil channel, I should say. 30K subs, Modern Warfare 2 update. This is from November 8th of 2009. Taking y'all all the way back. All the way back. Here we go.
For this, and ended up being 15 minutes long. I don't want to upload multiple parts for this video, but it is pretty important that you tune in, so please stay with me. First of all, thank you everyone. I've reached 30,000 subscribers. That was my goal for the end of the year, and I jumped ahead and just hit it already, which is awesome because the 3 biggest games of the year haven't even come out yet. So thank you very much for everyone who subscribed. Thank you for everyone who's watched. Some people don't subscribe. They literally told me, we love your videos, but we don't subscribe because you have so many videos, we don't want to clog up our inbox. That's perfectly fine. What are you going to do? I get the feeling I'd have a lot more subscribers if YouTube could change that functionality, but as everyone knows, YouTube blows. But anyway, thank you so much. I also
What do you mean that functionality? You're uploading too much. This was the problem from the beginning. You're uploading too much. He was flooding the system to try to get his name out there as quickly as possible. Or at least that's what I'm surmising. And if this was an ongoing problem in 2009, probably when he started in 2008. I think because yeah, I'm pretty sure Darksydephil started in about 2008, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure someone in the comment section will correct me if I'm wrong. But that's always been an ongoing problem. That was always one of the stitches on DSP, is that he uploads too goddamn much. But he blamed yet, and we're also seeing the early stages, if not early, but you're seeing early examples, I should say, of Darksydephil yet again, blaming somebody else. Phil, you're uploading too much. Oh yeah, it's YouTube's fault. Terrible functionality. Hopefully they fix that bullshit. No, Phil, you're just uploading too much. Maybe instead of you uploading 30 to 50 videos a day, maybe you could only give them 10 videos a day, maybe 15. You see what I'm saying? And this is, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this was all supposed to be a hobby, right? Allegedly. But it sounds to me that he was treating this like a full-blown business. On top of that, I want you guys to take a look at his surroundings a little bit. This is definitely before, because I think he was still working a regular job at this time. Actually, he was. So this is before the money came in. So all the fancy bullshit and everything wasn't there yet, because the money wasn't there. So if this dude would have saved his money in these earlier years, he would have been better off later. But that's not what happened. All this quick money came through, and he lost his goddamn mind. And he just went wild in it. He went wild with this shit. Oh boy. Alright, let's continue.
I want to say thank you very much to anyone who's ever donated. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to paypal.com and send a payment to darksydephil@hotmail.com. I accept any amount, whatever you can, you feel like you want to give me. It is a donation. It's not a direct payment or anything like that. So please understand, don't ask me for something specifically because you're going to pay me. That's not how it works. It has to be, your willingness to just give me something to help me out. By the way, it has helped me out a lot. As you see, in the past year, not only have I moved, but I've gotten better equipment. I've gotten games that I hadn't planned on getting. I ended up getting because I had some donations that helped me out. And I plan to only get bigger and better as we move on. Hopefully I'll get better equipment in the future. I'm actually planning eventually to go to some gaming conventions and things like that next year. And I'm going to hope to, take some footage there and share that with everyone. I want to say...
Jump in. So, first things first. Phil just told us about the PayPal, which he has to this day. He told us, yet again, that he never made a dime doing this. He was a regular guy. He had a job. He had school, whatever the case may be. He bought games on his own, came home and played them. But you're hearing right here, right now, that, hey, you guys, here's the PayPal, as most of you guys have known. People were already donating to him. He was using that money to buy games. He was using that money to buy equipment, this, that, and the third. He was doing this back in 2009. Before the money really rolled in, that corporate money, you know what I'm saying, from Machinima. He's doing all this, because I don't think he went to Machinima until like 2010. 2010 or 2011, I think. It might have been 2010. So, yeah, I gotta get that time right. I have that timeline right. But this was definitely before, this is definitely when he was basically depending on donations and his own money to get things done. You're seeing it all right here, but he says this never happened. You know what I mean? He wasn't accepting any money. He never made a dime off his videos. But obviously, he's using his videos to promote, hey, you guys can donate to me if you want. Now, it's not like now, where he's basically like, oh, well, if you guys don't give me any money, I'm not going to be here anymore because I can't keep doing this for a living if no one helps contribute. I need crowdfunding, and that's how you guys can thank me for my 10 plus years of whatever. But right here, in a more subtle way, in a way that people would not find overbearing, he was getting money from them almost off the rip. And who knows how much money was given to him to buy games. But doesn't he stand on his legacy of, oh, I bought all those games, with my own money, as soon as they came out, played them, and put them out for you guys. But theoretically, you guys were paying him to do it. And he also put the caveat in that, a donation is a donation. I'm not here. You can't tell me what to do with that money. You're giving it to me because you just want to support me. You can't add any stipulations to it. Hence the reason why he gets pissed off now. Excuse me. If you tip him on his streams and say, hey, use this money to get this game. Like, for example, A Plague Tale. He's made, at the time, when I had first talked about it, it was about $500+. But watching Tevin's stream last night, the total was up to $700. He basically bleeded these people for $700 for Plague Tale. Now keep in mind the game's only $40, but people were throwing him $50, $100, $140. Hey Phil, go and play this game. Hey Phil, play this game. Hey Phil, play this game, and would just shrug it off. Now he's going to play it because he's forced to. There's too much money that was given to him, and he's being called out left and right for it. And Phil, if you guys don't know, Phil frequents kiwi farms and the tractor videos. So he knows exactly what's being said about him, so he needs to do it. If not, it's going to just bring more, negativity on him, as if there isn't enough. So all of this kind of stems back to this. I'll try in the future to try to find a much earlier video to kind of, try to cement exactly when he started his PayPal, but I'm starting to believe he must have had it from the beginning, from the day he got fired, actually. And if you guys remember, we actually went over that video. He was actually fired in, let's see here, when he was laid off. He was actually laid off September 30th of 2010. So I am right. He didn't have a sponsorship deal at the time. Okay, or he wasn't part of an MCN, I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm right. Because he revealed himself like a face reveal. July 21st of 2009. Already did that video. September 30th of 2010 is when he got laid off. Excuse me. This right here is November 8th of 2009. So he still had his job, but he wasn't part of Machinima yet, I don't think. Yeah, he wasn't part of Machinima yet, I don't think. But he did say something about he had a partner channel. And maybe I think he's talking about the ads. Actually, I'm pretty sure he was talking about the ads. Because remember, he got laid off. He says, I need you guys to really click the ads because that'll help support me and hopefully I can make enough money to turn this into a real thing. Then he got kicked out of the Google AdSense program because of abusing of clicks. And he said he had nothing to do with that. And then he eventually went over the Blip and so on. So, okay, so my timeline's right. All right, cool. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. But you're seeing some of the early stages of it right here. Let's continue.
Specifically to a couple people who have donated big time, and I mean there are a handful of people, you know who you are if you're watching this, that have really given me some significant donations, and I want to say thank you very much. These people have actually specifically asked me not to be mentioned, by name or anything like that in a video, so I won't. I'm going to respect that request, but thank you so much. Your donations have definitely helped me out. It's kind of funny. One thing I want to say real quick. This is my hobby, this isn't a job, this isn't something that I'm doing full-time for money, and even though, hey, that would be awesome if I could do that in the future, if someone wanted to hire me to do it, but I don't foresee that happening. And to go from basically nothing...
But it could have happened, though. Excuse me. It could have happened. He could have gone into possibly game writing, game testing, or being a game reviewer for not just the current gaming magazines that were out at the time, but also for some of the gaming networks that were slowly but surely springing up. He could have been a front runner for some of those companies. In the fact that he could have gotten hired and he could have given his opinion. Actually, Hateful Truth could have been his segment for Screw Attack or G4 or whatever some of those things that were going on back in that time. He had that opportunity. Did he necessarily have the charisma? No, but he's a negative shit ass of a person. But at the same time, it was still early enough to where he could theoretically appeal to the common gamer. You know what I'm saying? You got to think back in Phil's time. You bought a game, you didn't like it, you felt a certain type of way. Well, Phil would be the one that you would go to. You would send your email to, be like, "Hey Phil, could you do, or Darksydephil or DSP, could you do a review on this game right here, man? I bought this game and I feel like I was burnt, and this is what my thoughts on it. Would you mind doing it?" And he could literally do Hateful Truth and then ask the king in the exact same segment. So basically, he reviews the game himself, finds out the game is garbage. Then he goes through fan letters. He doesn't have to read all of them, but he just goes through some of them and takes out little bits and reads it like he would on Axe the King. And this is all part of his segment with, like I said, Screw Attack or G4 or any of those game news sites that were slowly but surely coming up. He could have had his own segment for that. And once he was done, he just moves on to the next company. You know what I'm saying? He could have done something like that. And he could have done that early. But he didn't have vision. And he didn't have the drive. You know what I'm saying? He just wanted to focus on this because it was easy and it was convenient. And sadly, it made him complacent. But he just didn't have the vision for it either. And other people did.
Just a little side project where I thought, hey, let me just view a couple clips of a couple games, things that I don't like about the game or things that I think are cool, like my Dead Space Chapter 2 Scary as Hell, which is still one of my highest viewed vids and one of my earliest vids. And it's turned into something so much more. Now I'm able to play most of the games that come out, the major releases. Everyone kind of follows along with me. I have other series now. I have my alternate channel, The King of Hate HD, where you can see other things that I do outside of just playing video games, or you can see some of my personal stuff, my gaming collections and things like that. I've got now a review series called The Hateful Truth, where I'm reviewing some of the games that probably not necessarily the biggest games. Like, I might not do a huge game, but I might do a game that people have been asking about, like Wet or Halo 3 ODST or games like that, where people are kind of on the fence and they can't really decide if it's a good game or not. Those are the kind of games I'm going to be doing. But yeah, it's great, and unlike a lot of the other bigger channels on YouTube, I mean, I'm sorry, everyone knows who they are, I'm not going to mention their names, but they're in your face 24/7. They're not only on YouTube, but they're on other sites. There are social networking sites. They have people spamming shit all over the place. I don't do that. I have a life
And that
out.
screwed you over. First things first, as I just said previously, you can see it all shaping up for him trying to make this a full-time job. So now, one of the great mysteries, if you will, one of the great mysteries of this will be, and eventually it'll happen. It'll take some prodding, but eventually Phil will end up relenting, because no one's really ever asked him this before, I don't think, is what was some of the circumstances, not the whole situation itself, but what was some of the circumstances that caused you to get fired from that job? And the thing is Phil is still resentful that they fired him from that helicopter company, or his last job. So he might, if people prod him over the span of a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months, especially with the with Axe the King coming up soon, he might be willing to divulge a little bit of that information. It's going to stem back, in my own personal opinion, to the fact that he was fucking around, playing these video games, staying up late drinking, doing this, that, and the third, and he was waiting for the monetization aspect to come in. He may have had the vision for that, and if not, he had the donations, crowdfunding, if you will, to back him up. He was building up the type of fan base who were contributing, at least some of them, were contributing enough money that maybe he could keep all this going until monetization kicked in. I've never been one to give Phil a whole lot of credit, but that's the reason why I'm doing this. That's the reason why that's the reason why I just started recently to do these videos and go back and look at his older stuff, because maybe that'll give me a better idea of what his thought process was, what he was planning, and or scheming, if you will. And I'm starting to think that that's what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting to see the groundwork of what eventually came later. Now, keep in mind, it probably happened a bit more premature. He wasn't expecting to get fired when he did. Maybe because he thought maybe his dad could cover some of that up. Maybe he thought he was a real asset to the company itself, and they wouldn't let him go on what he would consider technicalities. Who knows? Either which way, he got bodied, and he's still mad about it. And that can be utilized later on if the situation is fostered properly. But we'll have to wait and see. But everything that I had named, he could have done for another company instead of doing it all on his own. Yet again, he didn't have the vision, or he didn't want to share the glory. Another thing is, and something that he's admitted recently, where he wished he had reached out to those corporations, those game publishers and whatnot, and actually had gotten in bed with them and did business. He wishes that when those sponsorship deals were coming in, he would have actually taken them. I'm sure he's taken a few of them, but he didn't take maybe the ones that counted, or he thought he was too good for certain ones because maybe he wouldn't have the underdog, reputation of YouTube anymore, this, that, and the third. But I think he misunderstood what that meant too. I'll try to talk about that towards the end of this. And then the networking and the collaborations. Well, you guys know about the collabs. He was just too greedy, and he only wants to collab with people who are lesser known than himself. At current, it's Brian and Kekken. Really more Brian. For back then, it was John, Howard, OJ, people who were his friends who either had really small YouTube channels or didn't have YouTube channels at all. So at the end of the day, he still gets all the glory. You know what I'm saying? He gets all the spotlight and everything, and he kind of just brings them in as props to kind of complement his content, if you think about it. So there you go on that. As it pertains to the networking aspect of it, he was foolish on that thing too. Now keep in mind, I don't really tweet or promote any of my videos too. So it is what it is. But for him, he was looking at really trying to turn this into something. And early on. And so he should have. He looks at it as, these people are spamming you, and so on and so forth. If you come to YouTube, you should only see what you want to see on YouTube. But especially in 2009, the more spotlight you could get on yourself, the better. Phil would have rather have people go by word of mouth than kind of put in some of the effort himself. And so just imagine if he did a little bit of networking, if he had started maybe a Twitter early or a Facebook. I think he said he had one before it got hacked. If he had, maybe reached out to some of those, like I said, early gaming news websites and said, "Hey, can you promote me here? Can you guys embed one of my videos here?" as they did for other people, he may have gotten way more exposure a whole lot sooner. I don't know. But yet again, it's a lack of foresight, I think. And it's funny because for someone who looks like who was shaping this up to be his thing, his niche, he doesn't have a lot of faith in himself, and he certainly doesn't have a lot of vision. Just my opinion. DSP News, second edition. I'll just say second edition or something.
Side of this hobby, and that's what I'm focusing on. This is kind of a side thing for when I'm done with work and life and friends and other things that are going on. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has shared the word about me, told your friends, told your fellow players, told your family, because that's funny. I know a couple people that actually told family members and they liked it too. Thank you so much for spreading the word. The way I see it is we can only go up from here, and things are going to get better in 2010, especially with some of the games that are being announced and finally getting release dates. One thing I want to say really quick, it's kind of funny because there are some other channels that I've been following on YouTube. As you know, if you look at my subscribers, my subscriptions, you'll see, there's channels like the Angry Video Game Nerd and his alternate channel Cinemassacre, and those things are so ridiculous because he has the opportunity to be on a website like GameTrailers.com, and he is also part of Screw Attack, who also has a really big website, and they get that kind of promotion. I don't have that, so anything that you.
But you could have reached. Damn it! God damn, I'm good at this. I'm not good at this. I like to think I am, but especially since I haven't actually seen this video yet. You had, okay, if you knew that these guys were going to game trailers, Screw Attack, so on and so forth, you could have either reached out to them, which you ended up doing anyway, later on with the Blip TV thing, until you ended up getting kicked off a month and a half later. Just in case you guys don't know, a little bit of lore is when he went over there to Blip TV after he was kicked out of the Google AdSense program. He decided to move all of his material over to Blip, and he was moving up in the website's rankings. He was moving up pretty fast because of the amount of content he could put over there. That guy with the glasses, excuse me, which is, as you guys know, the Nostalgia Critic, and then all the people in there, Spoony1 and everybody else. They had this thing, like this group or whatnot, and they were thinking about, and they might have actually, were probably going to close the deal until Phil got kicked off the site, of bringing him onto Blistered Thumbs, which is like a game, it was like a game segment that they had. And that would have given Phil really good exposure. And then maybe that would have given him the confidence to branch out and do something else. Now, as you know, by the time Phil got kicked off of Blip, I think Blip only had another 5 or 6 year run before they actually ended up going under. So, you could say it's a twist of fate. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't think, honestly, it would have. I think even if he had stayed on Blip, meaning that he wouldn't have done that whole Nazi Dead Space bullshit, Stitch, if he had not done that, gone to Blistered Thumbs, would have gotten a whole lot of exposure. He would have eventually came back to YouTube once he heard about the monetization, and he would have probably have done both until Blip ended up going under. And then he would have just gone back to YouTube. Then he would have gone back to YouTube permanently. And then by then, Machinima would have probably already scouted him out, I would guess. Instead of him going to Machinima, they probably would have scouted him and just go from there. The only thing that would have hurt him would be the gap in content. Now, if I remember correctly, Phil wasn't actually mirroring any of his content on Blip on YouTube. I think eventually he moved some of that stuff over, but he wasn't mirroring both of them at the same time. He was really trying to funnel people over to Blip for that month and a half that he was there. So in the long term, would he have eventually done that? I couldn't tell you. I'd probably tell you no, but maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Who could say?
About me is appreciated if you can spread the word. But it's funny because I remember a year ago, Screw Attack, and if you don't know what Screw Attack is, go check out their channel right now. They do Hard News, which is a daily news show that they do. It's really quick, but it's really informative regarding the new game news of the day. and they do it Monday through Friday like clockwork, and it's the only game show that I watch, to be honest. It's the only news show, let me rephrase that I watch. So I get all my gaming news from there. Go check it out. I'm pretty cool with them.
Okay, so I didn't know any of that because I wasn't watching any of this at the time. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I was super young and I was doing, I don't know, other shit. Either which way, you got to think, if they have this, the Screw Attack has this news segment Monday through Friday. So, and this is all in hindsight, obviously, but you think on Saturday they could have literally have given Phil, they could have given this, I don't know what they had going on the weekends, if anything, but on the weekends, or at least on Saturday, they could have given Phil his own segment, and that could have been Hateful Truth about the pluses and minuses of games. Now, Phil isn't very good about giving positivity to any game, but he's damn sure good about the negatives. So that could have been his segment on Saturdays. And so, and then on the, if you think, on the Thursday and Friday news show at the end, hey guys, like you said, we will see you guys, or even just on Friday. Let's go ahead and say that. So on Friday, right before they sign off, hey guys, thank you guys very much for watching the show. We'll see you guys bright and early Monday. But for all of you guys who still haven't had enough of what we present here at Screw Attack, or however you want to word it, don't forget to check out Darksydephil's Hateful Truth. That'll be up tomorrow and whatnot, going over some of the best and worst games of the week or of the month. And you guys can also send in your responses to Darksydephil at ScrewAttack at Gmail or Hotmail or whatever, and you guys can actually give him some of your responses. It could be like an hour show, literally, where he talks about a couple of games that released that week, or maybe even the week prior. Week prior would probably be good. Talk about a few of those games, and then reads responses, the response letters of some of those people who have purchased those games and what some of their pluses and minuses were. Easy. And he has that whole week. He literally would have Saturday just being him doing that. Who knows what kind of exposure he could have gotten off that. That could have been crazy. That could have been crazy. I mean, you can still pull something like that now if you wanted, but the production value would have to be super high and everything. But he could have pulled that back then, early on. He could have been one of the front runners for that. I don't know.
Those guys, and also do check out James Rolfe's alternate channel, the Cinemassacre channel, which is also on YouTube, where he puts up a lot of alternate footage, not the Angry Video Game Nerd stuff, but he does actually put up a lot of other stuff. For example, some of his Monster Madness series from October, where he reviewed all these classic monster movies that I really didn't know about. I thought it was pretty cool. So go check that out. One other website that I do want to talk about really quick, I know I'm kind of promoting other sites, but these are some of my favorite sites. Thatguywiththeglasses.com, where it's Doug Walker. He has a lot of different series. His biggest one is
Dude, you're literally going to scratch your ass on camera? What the hell is wrong with you?
Nostalgia Critic, where he reviews movies that were older, and he likes them, he makes fun of them, and it's hilarious. And he used to be on YouTube, and they kicked him off because it had film footage in his videos, and they bent over and took it up the ass, and they told him he had to leave. So he left. He made his own website, and now he's making it pretty big. He's got a team of people who now work on videos for him. So good job, Doug. I really like your stuff. I hope people will go check that out now that I mentioned that.
And now that I think about it, I don't know, as you know, if you guys know some of the lore about back in his FGC days, he had like a couple of spam websites, this, that, and the third. That's another thing that I brought up on my other channel, is that he has a forum, but he could have actually had his own website. And a lot of what I just said, he could have done on his own website later on. You know what I'm saying? After he gets enough exposure and so on and so forth. And then he could have multiple people contribute to that site. Like, he literally could have started an empire. It wouldn't have lasted very long, let's be honest. It's not going to last as long as Rome or anything. But he could have had his own empire for a little while. Could have made himself a whole lot of money. Could have had a whole lot of exposure. He would have had to get in bed with a lot of people, but that's the price of doing business. And more importantly than that, maybe that would have helped his business acclimate a little bit. Because for someone who has a business degree, he's not business savvy at all. So either the school system in Connecticut's really shit, or Phil's just not very good. I'm thinking Phil's just not very smart, to be honest.
One really quick thing that I want to tell you about Modern Warfare 2, and then we're going to cut this closed. As I said, my plan for Modern Warfare 2 is I'm going to go to the midnight release. I'm going to get the game legitimately by buying it. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to start playing the campaign and immediately start uploading
Here's
footage.
what now, what he means about legitimate, I couldn't tell you. As you know, for any of you guys who follow the Call of Duty community, which I have quite a bit, is that for those Call of Duty guys, a lot of them were getting free copies. A lot of people were breaking street date, meaning that they would go to like a mom and pop shop, gaming shop, and be able to get the game a week early. A lot of people did that shit. This is really before the Activision clamp down on stuff like that. I mean, even though that stuff still happens now, you just like shit. To be honest with you, if you get Call of Duty like, I'd say 72 hours before it actually hits stores, the servers are already up. Now, granted, a lot of that is stress testing and just seeing what happens, but don't be surprised that you find a couple thousand people already on there playing. And Activision knows that. They could cut the servers at any given time, but usually 72 hours before the game officially drops, you'll find people on there. And I know that from my experience with Black Ops 2, which is by far the best Black Ops, the last great Call of Duty game in my opinion. Despite the fact that the new Modern Warfare game has been announced, they're basically rebooting the series. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video. Either which way, when I ended up catching Black Ops 2, let's see, because there was a midnight release at the GameStop that I was going to, but I have older brothers and they already had it. They had the game like a week out, and they were playing online, I think, like earlier in that week. By the time I got on, as you know, back in those days, which was only a couple years ago, it's like 5 or 6 years ago, I think, they actually had a player counter of everybody who was online at that time. They don't do that anymore because the numbers have dwindled monumentally. But I remember when I first logged on, they had a midnight release, and I was cool with the manager at the GameStop that I went to. So instead of going to the midnight release, I showed up at like, I think when they opened at 10, because he told me to just come by, because I had bought I'd gotten a special edition, I got a strategy guide, you know what I'm saying, I was spurging money and shit. And he had all that shit ready for me. Yeah, he put a couple of Call of Duty shirts to the side for me, a couple posters, he gave me a bunch of shit. He was a really cool dude. Anyway, I was able to pick all that up as soon as they opened, 10 a.m. on the day that it dropped. By the time I got home, booted everything up or whatever, there was already people online. There was easily 30,000 people maybe online at that time. By the time midnight came, it was almost 1 million people. Almost. I literally played Call of Duty Black Ops 2 all day, and the number just kept rising as time went on. It is what it is. So I think that's what he means about legitimacy, but at the same time, that helped Call of Duty. That helped Call of Duty out a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because the more people you get on there, the more people are telling their friends, the more people who are playing it, the more people who are going to either try to go to the midnight release, or if not, they're going to be there the next day to get it. It pays off. And this is, you know, at a time where it was, yeah, digital was still kind of coming in with digital downloads and so on and so forth, but people were getting hard copies at that time.
The reason I haven't jumped the gun is because, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of other people have gotten the game from different ways, whether they stole it, they downloaded it, they got it early legally, meaning they walked into Walmart and Walmart sold it to them, so what are you going to do? And a lot of people have made footage of it, put it up on YouTube.
Oh shit, I swear to you guys, I have not watched this video beforehand. But yeah, I forgot that Walmart, Target, used to do that too. Actually, I think some Best Buys would do that also, because what do they care? At the end of the day, a sale's a sale. There's no price change or anything. So yeah, he's right. I forgot all about that.
YouTube, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's all getting taken down. A lot of people have actually gotten completely banned from YouTube. So I don't know.
They were suspended, and really they didn't take the people didn't actually take the footage down, like most, because most of the bigger YouTubers end up admitting later that YouTube would just tell them to private the videos until the official date came through. And for some of those guys, I'm not naming names, the official, because they privated it, the official view count stayed the way it was. So when it popped back up, it worked out. Excuse me. So when their video ended up popping back up after they unprivated it, most of them already had a couple thousand views on it, if not more. When it hit back into the system again, everybody thought that video was a shit, and it just blew up even further. That was just one of the things that early Call of Duty guys, as well as other game genres too, ended up doing to get around the system, because YouTube had played its favorites even back then. But keep in mind, this was early on too, before like a lot of the threats of lawsuits and stuff was coming through.
Just an effect of them getting the game early and basically breaking Street Date, which is illegal, or if it's just Infinity Ward and Activision.
It's illegal, that's true, but you broke Street Date on a couple of games too.
We don't want any footage of Modern Warfare 2. We want people to just go buy the game. I don't know what it is. First of all, there's no law that says you can't put up game footage. I hate to tell you companies who are putting these false copyright claims everywhere, it doesn't exist. It's a legal gray area where people are saying, is it copyright infringing or not? No legal ruling has been made. No one's ever really taken it to court. So I love how you like to threaten websites like YouTube with legal action, even though you've never taken it to court before. I'm going to do my best to get Modern Warfare 2 up. I'm going to do the campaign first, like I said. I don't know if I'm going to run.
Now, I want you to listen to that, right? Because he's, about the legal precedents. If you guys are paying attention to what's going on currently in the Phil, in the Darksydephil saga, he's talking about people who illegally restream his content, don't have his written consent or have paid a licensing fee to him, so they have no right to do it. That is his art, if you will. That is his content, and fair use doesn't apply to him. Despite the fact that, if you think about it, that argument applies to gaming too. Phil has this dumb thing going on where I purchased the license for that game. No, you didn't. You just purchased the game. You didn't purchase the license to it. Because if he had, ladies and gentlemen, he would actually not have to worry about muting any of the music. For example, like in Grand Theft Auto. He wouldn't have to worry about muting any of the music, because the company itself, the publisher, has a deal with what Sony Music or whoever it is that owns it. If he bought into that license, or if he actually bought a license, he would have legal precedents to use that as part of his content, and he would have the license to back him up. And since that would be a corporate document, and it would be in their licensing department, they could easily look it up. Okay, Phil Burnell, he does have a license with it. He's good. Fair enough. He doesn't have that. You buying the game doesn't mean that you have a license to use it any way you see fit. Because if that was the case, Phil wouldn't be muting videos. Or Phil's old videos wouldn't have been muted or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have to manipulate shit to try to get a video that's been taken down to get it back up as quick as possible. Things like that. And I don't know if that's just him being ignorant, if that's him being stupid, or he's just lying. You know what I'm saying? And all three of those could apply at any given time. But that's what it really comes down to. But that's his new stitch now. That all these people, Tevin, Dark Dave Mirrors, and LSB, or Lightside Bill, you should easily subscribe to all three of them if you're not. Those are the three main people who restream his content. He's calling them thieves, and whatever money that they make and so on and so forth officially should be his, and anybody who actually views their content are theoretically his viewers. Well, if that was the case, then why aren't they there? Why aren't they over there with you watching your content? Oh, because either they don't want the Nazi chat, they don't want to get banned for dumbass reasons, or you're just not entertaining. So they go to these individuals here to be entertained, which is what it should come down to. Phil looks at all the viewers as dollars. These individuals are providing a service. And more importantly, and this is the biggest thing I think that really attracts people to them, is that in their chat, you can literally talk to whoever about whatever. Phil, you can't do that. If you're not talking about Phil, or the game that Phil is playing and how Phil's playing it, in a positive light, I should say, then you're automatically done away with, or you're banned. If you're not banned outright, you're suspended, or not suspended, I'm sorry, timed out. This isn't preschool. You're there. You're at a stream to watch a game being played and be entertained. And if people want to throw some money at you, great. If they don't, they shouldn't feel pressured to do so. And for whatever reason, Phil Burnell never learned that.
Campaign and finish it, or if I'm going to jump into multiplayer. But I am going to be playing Modern Warfare 2 for a couple days straight. It'll probably be for the rest of the week, knowing how slow YouTube is to upload footage. You'll probably just see non-stop new Modern Warfare 2 videos. However, I want to let you know what my plans are if the worst happens. And the worst, what I mean is, I've already got 2 strikes against me for uploading other footage earlier in the year. As you know, the Grand Theft Auto 4 expansion, Lost in the Damned, and also there was a WWE Legends of WrestleMania game where they made false copyright claims. YouTube bent over, said, okay, whatever you say, we don't want to go to court, and basically took all my shit off of YouTube and told me if I didn't delete the files from YouTube, they would sue me. or ban my account, which is all they would have done, ban my account. So I'm afraid that with this, if all this footage is being taken down, that maybe they're going to do the same thing to my footage, and being that I already have 2 strikes, that they might try to get rid of this channel. That's the worst case scenario. It might not be that bad, and nothing might happen at all, because it will be legal by then to have purchased the game. So don't worry too much, but worst case, if anything happens, go to my alternate channel, The King of Hate HD. I'll have full instructions of what I plan to do then, if that's the case. More than likely, what I'll end up doing is fighting another site outside of YouTube to do the Modern Warfare 2 footage, and then I might return to YouTube to do other games next week. However, if the worst happens and they delete that channel, I don't care. I'm not giving up. I'm making another channel to replace it, and we're going to start from scratch. And it sucks if that happens, but if it happens, it happens, and that's just what we'll have to do. I hope that a lot of you will follow me, and most of you will come with me to the new channel. Again, any instructions of what I'm going to do if that does happen will be up on the King of Hate HD, my alternate YouTube channel. So please check it out. So that's it. Thank you very much for everyone who's been along for the ride. Thank you for those who have donated. Please keep watching. Please keep commenting. Please keep spreading the word and subbing. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming up, especially these next couple of weeks. They're going to be super hectic with the 3 biggest releases of the year. I'm really excited. 30,000 subscribers is awesome. Hell, let's try to make 35,000 by the end of the year. Why not, right? So thanks a lot, and I will see you guys Tuesday morning for Modern Warfare 2. Lick my balls, you fucking Halo 3 ODST fanboys. What's up, everyone?
Oh boy. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if he actually did lose his, if he actually ended up losing that. Actually, I'm pretty sure he did lose that channel. And then eventually he ended up getting it back, if I remember correctly. Huh. Well, I'm gonna have to actually find that video, because that'd probably be a good video to do next. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. You got a chance to see Phil Burnell at 30,000 subscribers on the Darksydephil channel. You saw what I think is some of the groundwork for what was going to come later. I think it was actually more pre-planned, or premeditated, I should say. Excuse me. Than he was willing to let on, but it's not like Phil was going to tell you the truth either which way. You heard a little bit about his future plans moving forward, especially as it pertains to Modern Warfare 2. And maybe that's where his disdain for the practice of getting games early comes from. Who could say, because Phil has benefited from that practice too. Getting games early, getting games for free, and so on and so forth. He's had a taste of all of that. I think what happened is he thought he shouldn't have to talk to them further on down the line to continue that practice. It should have just automatically been given to him. It's been given to him once. It should be given to him again. It's a bad analogy time. It's the equivalent of, let's say I start streaming over here, for example, and I don't know, John, whoever, gives me $100, and so I now am like, okay, well, this time next month he'll give me $100 too, and then the month after that, then the month after that. I know that sounds silly, but the thing is Phil actually thinks that way. He really does. When he makes a certain amount of money off YouTube or Twitch, let's say off YouTube he makes $5,000, and let's say off Twitch he makes $7,000. Okay, so that's $12,000. He expects that the following month it should be $12,000 or more. The month after that, $12,000 or more. He automatically does that. It's something that he has in his head that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But then again, it is what it is. But that is his thought process in some strange type of way. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in. This is it's been fun. Like I said, it's a little bit more chill than what I'm normally used to doing. I want to, like I said, after like 10 videos or so, maybe there'll be a channel update video. I'll try to get some feedback on what you guys are thinking. There's a lot of great content creators out there. Mr. Huff Stuff has a gold mine. Snorpernell, as well as Snorpernell 2. Both of those channels have gold mines of old stuff. And then a lot of the classic detractors, which we're going over now, have a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to try to give you guys a mixed bag. I'll try to make sure that the date is in the title, so you guys kind of can, you guys kind of know what the time period is. As I said in the previous 2 videos, I'm going to jump around, so we're going to kind of be all over the place from a time standpoint, but I'm kind of just picking what's interesting and what isn't. After a little while, I'll start taking requests of videos, so that'll be fun. And yeah, like I said, I'll catch you guys' feedback, and if you guys have anything to say, really, just leave it down in the comment section. I very much appreciate it either which way, to be honest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News 2nd edition, always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh yes. GTG Network and Productions. I am your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. take care of you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next broadcast. Yeah. How dare you talk shit about Halo, Phil?